We're ready to go? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll start the cabinet meeting today, and because less questions because it's cold in here for those who are not here. So make them quick and brief, and we might get out. But a call first for apologies for absence, and just got to mark down that it's the only one that's missing is Michael. Okay, Michael Payne, thank you. Next one is to approve item 2, approves correct record minutes of the meeting held on 21st of February 2024. They're on pages 5 to 8, and I'll move those. We agreed? We are agreed, thank you. Moving further on is the declaration of interest. If people wish to declare an interest, pecuniary or non-pecuniary, please do so. There are none declared, thank you. And moving on to item 4, which is the local plan. Forward plan rather, not local plan. Forward plan, so I'll move that. We just have to note it. Okay. Thank you. Agreed. We're agreed on that. So we're moving on fast and furious. Right, we're Gedling plan. Item 5, page 15 to 26. Mike?
Thank you, Leader. So the purpose of the report today is to agree to performance indicators and targets against which progress of the Gedling plan will be measured in the current year, 2024-25. Well, current year as of next week, sorry, yes. Yeah. So the plan sets out the Council's strategic direction and the key strategic actions which will be delivered to meet the priority objectives between now and 2027. The performance indicators are used to monitor and measure progress against the plan priorities and are reviewed annually. Performance indicator targets are set in order to provide a stretch target for service delivery. Sometimes the targets are set in response to legislation or national guidance. Sometimes they are set following benchmarking with other similar organisations, and sometimes they are purely internal targets that have been determined locally based on officers' professional experience. The proposal, it is proposed that the suite of performance indicators and targets for the next year, 2024-25, are set out at Appendix 1. Within the report, paragraph 2.2 sets out that there are 3 additional performance indicators included this time, mainly around antisocial incidents, customers contacting through web chat and average call waiting times. Paragraph 2.3 also shows 3 previous performance indicators have been deleted. It's not that we won't measure them, it means we won't be measuring them at a strategic level and reporting through this basis, but instead they'll be monitored as part of departmental service targets. And these are around vacant properties along the high street and level of crime and antisocial behaviour within the borough, for which we don't really have any control, so they're watching targets for those. Paragraph 2.4 just sets out that in most cases the rest of the performance indicators do actually remain the same to ensure that performance, as good as it is at the moment, is maintained at that high standard. Paragraph 2.5 just sets out one performance indicator where we have set a reduced target, and this is around net additional homes. In that is to reflect the revised annual local housing need figure justified in the published 5-year land supply assessment. Just to finish off then Leader, progress against these performance indicators will be reported to Cabinet on a quarterly basis as it's well established, and also they're also are reported to the Overview and Scrutiny Committee also on a quarterly basis, and of course they're published on the Council's website in the usual way. So I'll leave it there. Thank you, Leader.
Yeah, thank you. Some good bits in there to look at. There's a couple on the short raise and more, but there's a couple there. The target for recycling, etc., was set at 30%. It's on 37.9, so that's a good move in the right direction. The other one was on empty homes. I think absolutely brilliant they've done on empty homes there. So that's just 2 things that are there with a target of 40, was it? And we've got April to December 74, and the total I think up to now 126. Which have been sat there. I don't know, Jenny, whether your long-term one that was in Gedling somewhere is ever on Lamley Lane ever got done?
Unfortunately not, but I know Nicola is working extremely hard on that one. Some of them are just very problematic, Leader, and they take some time to sort out, and particularly with any sort of legalities that we need to comply with along the way. We can't just go and take houses. We need to go through the process. But Nicola works extremely hard, and she's consistently outperformed all the targets. And it's a nice opportunity to say thank you to her, I think, and all the team who put in the work to make the empty homes habitable again.
Thank you. Absolutely brilliant efforts there, there's no doubt in it, because I can remember, and because we've been on a long while, you can remember the time when we'd only got one or two or none even one year, and now these have been moved on, so you know there's a lot of people got a roof over their head. So is there anyone else? Yeah, Viv?
Just the one, I mean, I think we're so lucky to have such a fabulous resource like the Bonington Theatre, and they do some stunning shows, you know, live shows for the National Theatre that you can get, you know, sitting in Bonington. I mean, just fantastic. And it's great to see that, you know, we are now, thankfully, don't have to keep talking about COVID, but thankfully we're out of that now, and what we can see is the rise, and people are really appreciating. And a real thank to the creativity of the Bonington team, because they just do a brilliant job, absolute brilliant job. A really high standard. You know, it's on par with some of the city's resources in terms of the Broadway, and it's in our little Arnold Leisure Centre. So well done to them.
I hope we get a new one soon. And you could have done a plug for the Shakespeare company. They're going to put on, I can't remember which one it was, a Hamlet. Are on. It's a spin-off of Shakespeare Company. Anybody's seen them? It's absolutely brilliant. And they are the real people that you would see in Stratford or anywhere else. Anyway, is there any more comments? None. We agreed. It's on page 15 there. Thank you. Moving over to item 6, which is the local development scheme. Planning policy manager. Where are you? Hiding over there.
Over here.
Joe. Thank you.
Thank you. So the Council is required to prepare a local development scheme, and the purpose of this document is to set out the timetable for preparing the Council's local plan. The Council's existing local development scheme was prepared in January 2019, and it covers the preparation of the Aligned Core Strategy and the local planning document, both of which are now adopted. Given that we are required to review our local plan, we've updated our local development scheme, and the revised document is attached at Appendix A to the report. Once agreed, the local development scheme will be made available on the Council's website. So the principle of reviewing the core strategies covering Greater Nottingham was agreed at the Joint Planning Advisory Board and also by the Council back in January 2019. Just to note a typo at the end of paragraph 1.3, that last sentence there should be deleted, that refers to the Authority Monitoring Report. Moving on, when adopted, the Greater Nottingham Strategic Plan, which is currently under preparation, that will replace the Aligned Core Strategy and form part 1 of the Council's local plan. The local development scheme sets out a timetable and milestones for taking forward the document, and those milestones reflect those that have been agreed with the other plan-making authorities, so that's Broxton, Nottingham City and Rushcliffe. It's acknowledged that the timetable is ambitious and may be challenging to achieve, particularly in light of ongoing planning reform, including the Levelling Up and Regeneration Act. However, it's important to get a local plan in place as soon as possible, given there's a deadline of July 2025 for submitting a local plan under the current system. It also signals the councils are committed to getting a new strategic plan in place for Greater Nottingham as soon as possible. So the proposal is to ask Cabinet to approve the revised local development scheme attached as an appendix for it to come in effect on 1st of April 2024. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? David?
Thank you, Leader. Thanks for the report, Joe. Well, it's like a treadmill, this, isn't it? You never seem to get off it. You're doing one plan and you're doing another. There are no dates for the local plan, the part 2. When would you expect those to start? And will we end up playing catch-up, where we've got a new part 1, which is different to the existing part 2? And will the two be aligned?
It's slightly complicated in that we are moving to a new planning system. So the first priority is to update the strategic plan, which will be the Greater Nottingham Strategic Plan. As that sets the framework for the more detailed plan that follows on, we can't commence detailed work on the part 2 until the strategy has been through the examination and has been agreed. But a lot of the evidence that is being prepared now and a lot of the work that we're doing behind the scenes, we do have our eye on what we're going to need to do after that, whether it's a part 2 local plan similar to the local planning document that we have now, or whether it takes a slightly different format. That's something that we need to keep under review. But yes, a lot of the work that we're doing now will be informing both plans.
Thank you. Jenny?
Yeah, just to thank Joe and the team for all the work on the plans. And Councillor Ellis is quite right. It is a continuing process and new things come in all the time. So the team not only developing the local plans, they're also working on other things that come in. So just to say thank you for that. We need the development scheme in place. It is a tight schedule, but team have a very strong record of keeping to those sorts of timetables, and I thank them for the work that they do.
Thank you. Anyone else? No one else? And thanks, Joe, for that. The recommendation is on page 27 and one item on there. Are we agreed? We are agreed. Thank you. Moving over to the next one, which is down to the Chief, which is item 7, and that's corporate peer challenge, which seems a long time ago, but it's there. Mike.
Thank you, Leader. So, as best practice, the Local Government Association expect that all LGA council members are subject to a corporate peer challenge at least every 5 years. A peer challenge provides an opportunity for respected politicians and senior officers to act as critical friends, bring in knowledge and expertise from their respective organisations to produce guidance or a roadmap for councils to adopt to improve service provision and value for money efficiencies. It must be remembered that this is not an inspection, and the feedback reports reflect individual thoughts and perceptions captured by the team over the time they spent as part of the review. The initial peer challenge took place between the 21st and the 23rd of June 2022, as the Leader says, quite a while ago, and the outcome from that was reported to Cabinet on the 8th of December 2022. The peer team then undertook a progress review on the 22nd of November 2023, and focused on each of the previous 9 recommendations made. The peer team did recognise the significant progress the Council had already made against those 9 recommendations, and their observations and further recommendations are set out in the progress review report as attached at Appendix 1. In addition, the peer team also had some key overall observations. The first one was the role of strong dual leadership, both political and operational, throughout the council is absolutely key and paramount to success. And they did recognise that the relationship between John as leader and myself as chief executive was very strong and complementary. The second one there, the council should develop and define its place-based vision for the borough. And again, we're currently progressing this through a restructure, staffing restructure, to have a real focus on place. And also, I think there's real key linkages now with the new and upcoming East Midlands Mayor that will be appointed in May. So I think we're already a long way down that road to delivering that angle as well. And the third one is about the council should be culturally more brave and be open to and support innovation. Again, I believe this is clearly demonstrated by the budget report that was approved by full council in March, which clearly demonstrated the council's commitment to transformational change through digital improvement, with a huge investment from the council's resources to make sure we do that transformation exercise as well. So I think overall, Leader, the review was very positive for the council. It continued to be positive on the repeat, and that's the real win, I think, that I took from it. It was really good, I think, as a demonstration to all councils that even though you are struggling financially, we are a strong council, very committed, some fantastic staff, and we're really positive and not shy about the vision. We are looking forward and a forward-thinking council. So on that basis, Leader, Officers have welcomed the report and a new action plan is attached at Appendix 2. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wish to say anything? No comments? No, thank you. And we have to thank our staff for a substantial amount of it, so we will place that on record from the Cabinet. Okay, let's move that recommendations. 2 items there. Consider peer challenge review and approves the new corporate peer challenge action plan. That's on page 45. I'll move it. Are we agreed? We are agreed, thank you. Moving over now to item 7, which is corporate peer challenge review. And Fran, thank you.
Sorry, so equality and diversity leader. This report seeks approval of a new equality, diversity and inclusion policy for 2024 to 2027. And this is following a period of public consultation which has resulted in some changes to the draft policy that was presented to Cabinet and launched in January. The public consultation ran from the middle of February to the middle of March and was run predominantly online. Paper copies were made available at our outreach centres and contact was made with community groups. There's been a significant amount of public commentary around the consultation, particularly through social media. However, in terms of actual formal responses, where consultees completed the consultation questionnaire, we had 39 responses. In addition, we conducted face-to-face consultations with the Youth Council and with the Overview and Scrutiny Committee Working Group. The feedback from those groups is included within the report. The full responses are appended to the report, and as you can see, there's quite a variety of responses that we've received to this consultation. What we've tried to do in the report is pull some of these responses into some key findings through a SWOT analysis process. There were some positive comments made by consultees, and in particular, as highlighted in paragraph 1.7 of the report, Leisure were praised for their inclusive approach to service delivery, which was really positive to see. There were, however, a number of negative comments around the policy document itself and the method of consultation, which is acknowledged. There are a number of recommendations stemming from the consultation, and while some specifically related to the policy and its wording, many of the recommendations were more broad around the Council's approach generally to equality and diversity within service delivery. Now, I don't propose to read out all the responses, and they are detailed in the report. However, in terms of the changes made to the policy as a result of those consultation responses, in terms of the wording to the policy itself, the name of the policy has been changed, so it is now the Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Policy. There has been a definition of diversity added into the policy document, and there has also been some additional wording added around the Council's commitments to employees to ensure that it's clear that we are an inclusive employer and that we seek to advance equality of opportunity in recruitment, retention and development. Now, the Council's current equality and diversity policy has an accompanying action plan, which expires on the 31st of March this year. The action plan provided for a work stream of 70 actions over a 3-year period and was based on the Local Government Association's Equality Framework for Local Government. The new approach, as outlined in the policy for 24 to 27, is not to have a separate equality and diversity action plan, but rather to integrate equality actions into our annual service plans as part of wider service planning to deliver on the Gedling Plan priorities and our published equality objectives. The consultation has been particularly helpful to assist in identifying where equality, diversity and inclusion should form part of service plans into next year. And in paragraph 1.19 of the report, there are a list of actions that will be included in service plans for 24-25, which relate to equality, diversity and inclusion. Now, some of these actions arise specifically from consultation responses or echo comments that have come through the consultation, including the need for a corporate consultation approach which supports accessibility for consultees, active participation from the Youth Council, and assessing underrepresentation in the workforce. That's just a few of the actions that are included in service plans. The changes made following the consultation to the policy document are shown in track changes in the appendix to the report. What is clear, and I think that came through the consultation response as well, is that actually equality, diversity and inclusion is already a huge part of the Council's work programme and has been for some time. Perhaps it's that we don't necessarily promote those activities in the right way, so that obvious link to equality, diversity and inclusion isn't necessarily seen by the public. Equality actions will be monitored going forward as part of performance management and through the Strategic Equality and Diversity Group and Cabinet. The recommendation is on page 65. Leader, I'd ask that Cabinet approve the policy. Thank you.
Thank you. Catherine?
Thank you, Leader. Just to recognise all the work that's taken place in previous years to get us to this point before this consultation took place, I'd like to thank Councillor McCrossan. Obviously, I worked as her policy advisor on the previous action plan and framework. I've actually got a long list of thank yous, and that is obviously the Youth Council. Fran obviously came along and sought the views of the Youth Council. We were very vocal about their views on disabilities and mental health, and their ideas for play areas. And I know that when we do design play areas, we do tend to consult a lot of people, including schools and people with disabilities. I'd like to thank the Strategic Equality and Diversity Group members, which consists of officers and councillors, and also my policy advisor, Councillor Sandra Barnes. Scrutiny members who were also party to the consultation and have put forward their recommendations. Gedling Borough Council hubs for their part in distributing the consultation so that we could get representation from people in different areas. Staff and service managers who have embedded these equalities actions into their service plans in the past and going forward as well. A lot of work's, as Fran has alluded to, a lot of work's already been done. We've not always sung about it. So thank you to them. To community groups who have also put forward their views to the consultation, our partners and the voluntary sector who have also put forward their views, which we will take into account and build into our action plan. And of course the public who have put forward their views too. It can be a quite difficult subject to fully explain to the public, perhaps over social media, but which has perhaps led to some of the answers that we've got. But we'll fully take on board all the strengths that we've got to work on, all the weaknesses as well that this has highlighted, and obviously build that into the action plan going forward. So basically, I'd like to thank everyone for their views, and just to say that the work never ends. It's always ongoing. To thank you for everyone's views, and obviously we've got the recommendations there to approve and adopt the plan going forward. Thank you, Leader.
That's Catherine. Jenny?
Yeah, just a query really. Clearly you've consulted with the Youth Council at Family Hubs, Mental Health Services. I couldn't see any mention of the Seniors Council. I wondered if they were consulted. I noticed a fair proportion of the respondents were between 55 and 74. And clearly discrimination and lack of equality can affect older people as well, because they also cover the whole gamut of people who get discriminated against.
Thank you. Catherine, do you want to come back?
So in terms of the Youth Council consultation, we're quite fortuitous with timing, because they had a Youth Council meeting that we were programmed in to attend. We didn't attend a Seniors Council meeting now, but in terms of promotion through communities to groups, they were made aware.
Thank you. Any more comments? None seen. Okay, I'll move that recommendation. 2 items there, and that's on page 65. Seconded. Agreed. Yeah, okay, thank you. Moving on to item 9, which is risk management strategy. Again, it's still with you, Fran. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. Legally, the Council are required to have a sound system of internal controls in place, and that includes effective risk management through the organisation. Cabinet previously approved the current risk management strategy and framework back in 2017. Internal Audit recommended a review of that strategy and framework and have supported us in providing some best practice examples of risk management approaches from other authorities. A new risk management framework has now been prepared, and this was considered by Audit Committee earlier this month and recommended to Cabinet for approval today. The framework includes a policy statement, a risk management strategy, a risk appetite statement, and a risk management toolkit. So it's a plethora of documents within one framework. As part of the strategy element to the framework, senior leadership team have assessed the Council's current risk management position against the Alarm National Performance Model for Risk Management. This sets out 7 categories against which the Council can assess itself in terms of where it is with risk management within the organisation. Across those 7 categories, on average, we scored a 3 on a 1 to 5 scale, which means that risk management is working within the organisation. However, through the adoption and progression of this strategy and work stream, we would like to move that position on so that it really becomes more embedded and more driving within our decision-making processes. The strategy also covers how risks are measured and scored and provides for a new 4x4 matrix of scoring risks between 1 and 16 based on likelihood against impact. The risk appetite statement within the framework is new, and this is something that we are recommending to Cabinet for approval, that the Council adopts an appetite risk level of moderate, tending always towards exposure to only a modest level of risk in order to achieve acceptable outcomes. And it's against this risk level, if approved, which all risks will be scored going forward. Now, that doesn't mean that there won't be occasions when we operate outside this ideal risk level. But what it does mean is that when we're assessing those decisions, projects, etc., that when we are going above this risk level, we are clearly identifying why that risk is acceptable in those circumstances and providing information to mitigate that risk as far as we possibly can. The toolkit is a much more practical part of the strategy and sets out how risks are contained within our council risk registers. So historically, we have had corporate and departmental risk registers. The framework provides for a much broader spectrum of risk registers, covering more specifically projects, contracts, and cyber risk. So it's contained in a sort of one type of format throughout the organisation, linked back to those corporate high-level risks. In practical terms, if this framework is approved, there will be a period of training and implementation of the strategy and toolkit with officers. And in order to support the development of this framework, the Council have procured an additional module to its IdeaGen, or Pentana as it was formerly known, performance management module, so that we can record and report on risks in a similar way in which we record and report on performance management updates. It's something that's in a familiar format for members, and it will be then reported through to Audit Committee on a quarterly basis and in a much more, I hope, transparent and clear way. The recommendation, Leader, is on page 107, and that is to adopt this strategy. And as I said, this was also a recommendation from the Audit Committee, who have considered this strategy this month. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Fran. Any comments? No comments? Okay then. Another important piece of work that we need to keep on top of, particularly thinking about the way the world is, locally, nationally, internationally, is we have to be on top of it, monitoring everything else, isn't it? So it's good to see a document like this. So I'll move that. That's on page 107, and one item there to adopt it. I move it. We seconded. We are agreed. Thank you. Moving on to item 10, which is still with you, Fran. There you are. You get your overtime today. Right. Digital Data and Technology Strategy.
Yes. Thank you, Leader. I am very pleased to be presenting this document to Cabinet for approval. I think it's exciting, it's ambitious, and it's also absolutely essential for the organisation moving forward. The need for some kind of ICT strategy has been identified for some time, and through a baseline review of ICT provision that was done during COVID, and also through internal audit recommendations. In order to deliver this strategy, the Council established an internal project team of officers across the authority, both from within ICT and other departments. And we also engaged external consultants Change Network to support us with development and creation of the strategy. In creation of this document, there has been extensive engagement across the Council with officers, with members, and the strategy sets out to establish where we are now and where we need to be going forward as an organisation. Also, members will have been aware that as part of the budget process, draft versions of the strategy were used to ensure that some of the costs associated with the strategy in year one were included as part of budget planning. What I will say at this stage is that the strategy is an overarching document, and all the projects within that document within each year will have their own approvals and business case that will need to be developed. In summary, the strategy, which is now entitled the Digital Data and Technology Strategy, goes much wider than just ICT provision within the Council. It provides an overarching vision, which is to ensure easy-to-use, responsive and efficient services enabled by reliable and secure solutions that make the best use of data to help improve lives. And this ties back to the Council's overarching vision of serving people and improving lives. The strategy identifies 4 work streams in order to achieve this vision, and they are digitally enabled customer experience, smarter working, data and information management, and community engagement and inclusion. It's essential that the Council moves forward in line with an ever higher level of customer expectation around digital access, while still ensuring that the needs of our non-digital customers are met and that we have capacity within the organisation to serve those residents as well. The strategy is about upskilling our workforce, our communities and our members. It's about providing more efficient services, and it's about being a more efficient organisation and delivering ultimately the financial efficiencies that come with that. In the next year, there are a number of actions recommended in the strategy, including the business case development and acquisition of a customer relationship management system, which will introducing a strong governance framework around change projects to ensure effective procurement of systems that are the right systems for the organisation, which deal with the Council's data in a secure and safe way and manage customer expectations of how they should be served. Year one also provides for better customer engagement in delivering changes. So what we're looking at, and this is included in service plans as well, is things like customer focus groups, so engaging with our residents, testing the processes and systems with them to see how they feel about using them. Also governance internally within the organisation. So we're in the process of setting up what's called a Business Technology and Design Authority, which is a group of officers across the Council who are working together as one group to try and ensure that the digital solutions we deploy within the organisation and the change within the organisation is done in a cohesive and collaborative way. The strategy identifies a number of critical enablers which have to be in place in order for it to be delivered. That includes having the right people and the right resources in place, not just in terms of ICT, but throughout the whole organisation. It also includes having better project management resource in place, and really understanding across the organisation the concept around business change and transformation. It's also about councillors having the right equipment to enable them to work more effectively within their communities and to ensure that as an organisation you are fully up to date with where we are at on certain projects and work streams. The strategy as a document is clear, it's digestible, and it is a real opportunity to change the way the council works and transform our services both within and outside the organisation. The recommendation is on page 151 for adoption of the Digital Data and Technology Strategy. Thank you.
Thanks, Fran. Comments? Thank you. Marge?
Thank you. Thank you, Fran. I really welcome the strategy, but I'm especially pleased for residents who don't have access to their own digital strategies that we're recognising that and must always be mindful of it. So thank you.
Thank you. Catherine?
Thank you, Leader. Obviously, welcome this strategy. It's brilliant. It's a way of working smarter, not necessarily harder. I think it's probably harder to do what we're doing now. So the change is obviously going to be a welcome one. Regarding inclusivity, I've read that in the report it said that 2% of colleagues and 18% of customers have a disability or a long-term physical or mental condition, and that obviously affects their digital inclusivity. I'm very pleased to see that we'll be taking that into account in the strategy going forward. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you. Viv?
Yeah, absolutely welcome this. I think in terms of us as a council, what we're here to do, customer focused and being outward thinking, being open, transparent, responsive in what we do, is really a sign of a good council. And we all know how frustrating it is when you're asking for something and it takes weeks and weeks and you're on the phone and you can't get through. Actually, if we can do it in a more slim, seamless way for people who've got very busy lives, I think it will make a massive difference. So absolutely welcome that. And Gedling is going in the right direction. So brilliant.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anybody on the back benches? No? Okay then. Yeah, I think I'd ask for it, Fran, is that we apply a lot of patience to this, because not everybody's going to be able to pick this up straight away. Excuse me, and I'm not talking about myself or an elderly person, I'm talking about younger people as well, because I talk to people who are just coming out of uni, and so, you know, getting through some of the stuff that they've got, it's changing so fast, and I know people can get frustrated quite easily, so somehow if we can keep ahead of that, but great document, and looking forward to, you know, as we were discussing in an earlier meeting, looking forward to see we implement it and hopefully make life a bit easier for everyone. Okay, that's on page, whatever it is, 151. I'll move that. Seconded. We are agreed. Thank you. That's bringing us to nearly the end of it. Just to say thank you to all our staff for the interim bit from Christmas to Easter. And bearing in mind it's the end of Ramadan, anybody's got any friends who are going through Ramadan at the moment? If anybody's around when it finishes, it's a bit of an ease up matter. So all sorts of things finish around this time of year. But I'd just say, hopefully, that your families and everyone else have a reasonable bank holiday or a good bank holiday. I don't know what the weather's going to do. As it is in England, it changes so rapidly, doesn't it? But also at that time to cast a thought about how well off we are. Some people moan all the time, don't really look at your emails. But how well off we are in this country and in our society, because lots of places, you know, across we see Palestine and Israel and Ukraine, Russia, all the other places, Haiti, Yemen. Can you imagine being in there? We're not going across for a nice Easter egg. We're just going to, you know, they're just going to battling for life, aren't they? Just bringing people down to earth a bit there. But anyway, have a great time, and we'll see you at the next meeting. Thank you.